Hola, it's your girl Rachel. Thank you for joining me to the Enough channel. I'm super excited for today's topic. Before anything else, subscribe down, is it down below or up? Just subscribe, like, share, and then let's make this a conversation of how we can help each other get to the next level of just feeling enough with ourselves. So I've been listening to this podcast for the last, I think, month, and something just cropped up and made me want to do the topic that I'll discuss today, which we take for granted so many times, but in real sense, it actually just has a huge impact in who we are and how we feel about ourselves at the end of the day. So for me, the topic is so ambiguous, I know, in so many ways, but when we are able to just crack it and just solve it, then we'll be able now to understand what it really means. So the topic today I want to touch on is expectations. I know the word is big, yeah, I know, but expectations are very crucial when it comes to us living our lives and just, in our everyday today mobility. So expectations on yourself, expectations on your friends, expectations at work, expectations your siblings, your parents, your church, your club, wherever you go, wherever you spend your time, all of us have expectations, and we never really understand how much or how the magnitude of expectations that and how they can have an impact in the way we live on our day-to-day basis. So we'll just go through, step by step, just learning how do expectations and how you can manage them and ensure that you live your best life, because it's a good life. So yeah, so one thing I think, or I know you should actually look out for, is when it comes to expectations, is be open to disappointments, because it's in our human nature to just have a certain level of expectations around us, because that's who we are as human beings, and you cannot run away from that fact. So the first thing when you're trying to manage them is know that you'll be disappointed, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you just need to know how to manage them as you live your life, as you go out partying, as you go to church, as you just interact with normal people like myself, like yourself, person sitting next to you. So be open to disappointment. And when I mean disappointment, I don't mean like real disappointments or minimal disappointments. I'm just saying keep it open. Know that the disappointments will come at all levels, with different magnitudes, with different weights, but how you handle it and how you are able to just trickle it down, manage it slowly by slowly, is what will get you to just feel good about yourself, feel enough with yourself, and then eventually spread out the good vibes. So disappointments. The sigh just tells it all. The minute you are moving around, you wake up in the morning, you expect your life to be perfect, you expect to get something to eat, you expect to go to the office or to go to class or to go to school or church, wherever you're going, you expect to find things flowing in a certain way. But when you don't find them, the way human nature, we have a programmed life, we have a programmed mindset. If you don't find things working out the way you had wanted, what do? You don't ransack the whole room, you don't go to the office trying to just lash on people. Is take a step back, think about what would you have done better, how would you have handled if plan A didn't work, how will you have handled plan B, plan C, plan D, and then move on to the next. Don't waste too much time trying to look at what didn't work because your expectations either were too high or too low. Just don't dwell on what is there in the moment, just move ahead. So the other thing which I think really you need to watch out on is you need to be very clear on your goal. I mean, I know you're wondering how goal and expectations are tied out. When you are clear on your goals, you know you're supposed to move from point A, from point to point B. You know you're supposed to ask for help when it's necessary. You just are clear on what exactly you really want, and that's the only way and sure way we can be able to just be enough for ourselves. Because goals are like, and remember, they have to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So when you have a clear goal, write it down. For me, insist, write down your goals, and then when you write down your goals, classify them into either pillars based on what and the time that you want to achieve each of them. Classify them, and then know, how am I supposed to like achieve each of them? Who around me is going to help me like tackle issue 1, issue 2, issue 3? That way you manage your expectations, and then you don't end up crying on trying to kill people or trying to just be so angry at people because your expectations are not met. And not forgetting that when you set your goals, we are human beings. You're setting your goals and people are going to help you achieve them. So the third thing, which I think is big when it comes to expectations, is just be authentic. I cannot emphasize this further. Authenticity is the one gift you should every day purpose and be intentional on to give to yourself, because authenticity is what sets you apart from your neighbor. It sets you apart from your siblings. It sets you apart from your friends, from your boyfriends, from your church mates, because authenticity is what extra value, what unique aspects are you bringing to the world that nobody else around you has. And when you're able to identify what makes you authentic, what gives you the richness to just mingle with people around you, is now what will help you like now manage expectations when it comes to interacting with people, having conversations, and then just being out there. And eventually, when you start being authentic with yourself, then people around you also adopt you the way you are. The fourth thing, which I think is really, really, really crucial, and for me, it really, really, really works for me, time management. I know we are not all good at time management. It's okay. We will get there. I'm telling you, we will get there. But managing our time in all aspects, is it work, school, spouses, the time we spend with the people around us is really, really important, because we are able to just control and manage the expect. Because sometimes we find ourselves in situations where you don't have everything under control. You are trying to balance between either work, school, family, children, all these things that you have going on in your life. It's okay, but it's okay to have them, but finding space, creating a schedule for each and every bit of your life is important, because you don't end up overdoing one thing compared to the other. So this podcast I've been listening to was a link down below, was just about a guy talking about, him was specific about relationships and divorce, like divorce in Kenya. And it just got me thinking, because I mean, all these things, because from the conversations that he has on the podcast, I tend to hear that so many of these things that make people have so much conflict to end up getting divorced or splitting up is a matter of just understanding yourself first, and then later on, or after understanding yourself, what are your limits, what are your expectations of the other person, then you're able to communicate them, you're able to like pass them across. Because what you were saying, most of the time we end up blame game is always the thing. But the minute you start managing your time and just knowing that this one goes here at this particular time, and this person, this is their allocated time, then you start prioritizing and becoming effective in the way you place your time. That way your expectations are not too high or too low of people. So lastly, and I think this one like sums it all, is write it down. I mean, I cannot emphasize any further. Expectations come to life because we do not write them down. We are too ambiguous about what we want to achieve, but when you're asked, so what's the framework, what's the plan, you don't have a written down plan that you can even share it out with either your mentor, your friends, your pastor, your sisters, your girlfriends. It's important to just put down everything you think. If you're expecting person A to treat you with kindness, put it down, then communicate it. If you're expecting in the office to get a promo in the next quarter, put it down, communicate to the relevant people, work on your client service, do whatever you need to do, and then slowly by slowly we start managing our expectations. We start becoming more realistic in what we expect out of people and what we expect with ourselves. And eventually when you manage, I cannot sit here and lie to you that expectations are for specific people, or I don't have my expectations, or you don't have your expectations. I know all of us have our expectations, but learning how to manage them on a day-to-day basis is what sets you apart from everyone else, and that is the sure way of you feeling enough about yourself. So remember, manage expectations, you feel enough about yourself. See you next time. Bye. Subscribe, by the way. Subscribe, yes.